What happens when two music legends collide over something deeper than songs? Over respect, authenticity, and the meaning of artistry? You're about to find out, because what unfolded between Morris Day and Jennifer Hudson on her talk show was nothing short of explosive. From the moment the cameras rolled, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. And by the end, one of them would storm off the set in pure frustration. It started innocently enough. Jennifer, warm and gracious, welcomed her guest. "Morris, it's such an honor to have you here. I've been a fan since childhood, listening to your music around the house." Morris, dressed in his trademark flair, leaned back with a smile. "Thank you, Jennifer. Always good to be here with someone who appreciates real music. You know, music that actually means something." The remark carried an edge, but Jennifer pressed on with her questions. She asked about his creative process, his new project, and his thoughts on the current music scene. Morris came alive, critiquing today's artists. "Back then, we poured our souls into every note. No computers doing half the work. We had to sing, play, connect with people for real." Jennifer's smile flickered, her voice still calm. "I think every generation has incredible talent, Morris. Artists today are doing amazing things with the tools they have." "Tools?" he scoffed. "That's the problem. Music isn't about tools. It's about raw, unfiltered talent. Something you either have or you don't." The audience shifted uneasily as the tension grew. Jennifer tried to steer things back. "Let's talk about your upcoming tour." But Morris cut her off, leaning forward. "Jennifer, let me ask you, do you really think these reality show winners, contest stars, do you think they have what it takes to make music that lasts?" The question landed like a blow. Everyone knew the implication. Jennifer Hudson herself had launched her career on American Idol. The camera caught her face tighten. "I believe talent comes in many forms," she replied firmly. "Success takes hard work, dedication, and yes, talent. No matter how someone begins," Morris smirked. "That's a diplomatic answer. But let's be real. There's a difference between manufactured success and authentic artistry. Some of us earned our place grinding in clubs for years. Others got fast-tracked through television exposure." The room went silent. Jennifer set her notes down and locked eyes with him. "So, you're saying someone like me, who started on a competition show, doesn't count as a real artist?" Morris shrugged casually. "Your words, not mine. But since you brought it up, how many songs did you write before that show? How many instruments could you play? How many years did you really spend fighting for scraps before the machine picked you up?" The fire flashed in Jennifer's eyes as her composure slipped. "Morris, you're confusing opportunity with talent. Yes, I started on a competition show, but everything I've achieved since then, every award, every performance, that was built through my own hard work and dedication." Morris leaned in, pressing harder. "Was it, though? Or was it the machine? Record deals lined up, promotions ready-made, connections handed to you on a silver platter." Jennifer's voice rose, steady but shaking with anger. "That's incredibly disrespectful, Morris. I've worked my tail off for everything I've achieved. I've won an Oscar, multiple Grammys, and I've earned every single one of those accolades with talent and effort." Morris waved a hand, dismissive. "Awards don't mean much when they're handed out like participation trophies. Back in my day, you had to really prove yourself before anyone gave you recognition." The words landed hard. Jennifer's eyes blazed. "Participation trophies? Are you serious? You're sitting here questioning my legitimacy as an artist when I've proven myself time and time again, in music, in film, on every stage I've stepped on. Multiple fields, Morris repeated mockingly. See, that's the problem. Real artists dedicate themselves to perfecting their craft. They don't scatter themselves across movies, TV, talk shows, anything to stay in the spotlight. Jennifer leaned forward, her voice sharp. So now you're criticizing me for being versatile, for pushing myself, for growing, for exploring different mediums? I'm not criticizing, Morris replied coolly, which only stoked the fire. I'm pointing out the difference between someone who lives for music and someone who treats it as just one career option. The studio was silent except for the cameras whirring. Jennifer's grip tightened on her chair. You know what, Morris? I've been nothing but respectful this entire interview, and you've done nothing but insult me and everything I've built. I haven't insulted you, Morris said evenly. I'm just being honest about what artistry looks like, versus what passes for it in today's manufactured industry. Jennifer's voice cracked with emotion, part fury, part hurt. Your perspective is outdated and bitter. You're diminishing my accomplishments because you can't stand artists who found success differently than you. Morris arched a brow. Threatened by a reality show contestant? I don't think so, sweetheart. The words sliced the air. Jennifer's mask fell away. Don't you dare call me sweetheart. Her voice cut through the studio like a blade. I am a professional. I am your host, and I am not some little girl you can patronize. Morris raised his hands mockingly. Whoa, calm down. I was just being friendly. Friendly? Jennifer laughed bitterly. You've spent the last 10 minutes dismissing my career, undermining my success, and you call that friendly? No, Morris, that's not friendly. That's disrespectful. The camera zoomed in, catching every flicker of anger on both faces. Morris shifted, surprised by her pushback, but unwilling to give ground. Look, I'm just telling the truth about the industry. If you can't handle that, maybe you shouldn't be interviewing real musicians. Jennifer's voice climbed again. Real musicians? Are you saying I'm not one? I've sold millions of records. I've performed with legends. I've been recognized by every major music institution in this country. Morris gave that same infuriating wave of his hand. Selling records doesn't make you a musician. Having a good marketing machine behind you isn't the same as artistry. Jennifer stood, hands flat on her desk, her voice trembling with fury. You know what, Morris? I've had enough. You came on my show, accepted my invitation, and you're sitting here belittling everything I've worked for. What gives you the right? Morris laughed, a dry, cutting laugh. 40 years in this business gives me the right. Being part of a band that changed music gives me the right. Creating something original, instead of singing covers on national television, gives me the right. The jab hit home. Jennifer froze, her jaw tightening. Everyone knew her idol journey had been built on covers. Morris knew it too, and he was twisting the knife. Jennifer's face flushed as she fired back. You want to talk about originality, Morris? Let's talk. How many of your hits were written by Prince? How much of your success came from riding his coattails, benefiting from his genius? For the first time, Morris's calm cracked, his jaw clenched, eyes narrowing, his composure slipping. Excuse me? Prince and I were collaborators, partners. We created something revolutionary together. Collaborators, Jennifer shot back, her tone sharp as glass. From where I'm standing, Prince wrote your songs, produced your albums, and practically crafted your entire image. So, if we're talking about manufactured success, maybe you should take a look in the mirror. Morris shot up from his chair, the wheels scraping across the studio floor. You don't know what you're talking about. Prince and I had a creative partnership that lasted decades. We built something together that shaped a generation. Jennifer leaned forward, sarcasm dripping from her voice. Oh, I respect that. Truly. But don't you think it's a little hypocritical to lecture me about authenticity when your greatest claim to fame is riding on someone else's genius? Morris's face darkened, red creeping up his neck. That's completely different, and you know it. Prince and I were a team. We came up together in Minneapolis. We created that sound side by side. That's not the same as winning a TV contest and having a career handed to you. Jennifer let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Handed to me? Do you honestly think winning American Idol was easy? Do you think standing on that stage, week after week, competing against some of the most talented singers in the country was just a free ride? Morris didn't hesitate. Yeah, I do. You sang other people's hits in front of a panel of judges searching for the next marketable personality. That's not artistry, Jennifer. That's auditioning. The insult was so brutal the crew behind. The cameras shifted uncomfortably. Even the producer was gesturing frantically, desperate to rein things in. Jennifer's voice dropped to a low, dangerous calm. You know what, Morris? I invited you here to talk about your music, to celebrate your contributions. Instead, you've spent this entire interview trying to tear me down. Arms crossed, Morris stood his ground. I'm not tearing you down. I'm telling the truth. There's a difference between earned success and manufactured success. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should ask yourself why. Jennifer's composure finally cracked wide open. What makes me uncomfortable is having a guest on my show disrespect me in front of my audience. What makes me uncomfortable is hearing someone who benefited from Prince's genius lecturing me about authenticity. Morris's expression twisted, the anger finally spilling over. Don't you ever question my relationship with Prince. You weren't there. You don't know what we built together, and you have no right to speak on it. Jennifer shot back instantly, her voice steady but fiery. And you have no right to question my journey. The difference between us, Morris, is that I've never needed to tear other artists down to validate myself. Morris stepped closer to her desk, his tone sharp as a blade. The difference between us is that I earned my place in music history through decades of innovation and originality. You got famous singing other people's songs on television. The audience was dead silent, the tension unbearable. Jennifer stared at him, equal parts fury and disbelief. I cannot believe the level of disrespect you've shown me today. I've accomplished things most artists only dream of, through hard work, dedication, and real talent. Morris smirked, his words landing like a slap. If you say so. The casual dismissal lit the fuse. Jennifer's eyes blazed, her voice rising with raw conviction. If I say so? Morris, let me be very clear. I have proven it. On Broadway, in films, on records, on stages across the world. I've proven it every single day of my career. Morris rolled his eyes. Fatal mistake. Here we go again with the resume. Yes, here we go with the resume, Jennifer thundered, her voice echoing through the studio. Because unlike some people, I don't need to live in the past or put others down to justify my worth. My resume speaks for itself. If that bothers you, that's your problem, not mine. Morris laughed, but the sound was cruel. Your resume was written by TV producers and record executives chasing dollar signs. My resume? It was written by audiences who experienced something real. Jennifer leaned forward, her voice shaking with passion. Something real? You want to talk about real? Real was standing on that American Idol stage week after week, singing my heart out with the world watching. That was as real as it gets. While millions of people judged every note, Real is taking that chance and building a career that stretches across industries. Real is winning an Oscar for my very first film because I brought something true and unforgettable to that character. Maurice scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. Please. These days anybody can cry on screen and walk away with an Oscar. Standards aren't what they used to be. That jab, the dismissal of her Oscar, was the final straw. Jennifer's expression hardened, fury flashing across her face. Get out. Maurice blinked. What? I said get out, Jennifer repeated, pointing firmly toward the exit. This interview is over. I will not sit here and let you disrespect me, my career, or my achievements another second. He looked around the studio, almost incredulous. You're kicking me off your show for telling the truth about the industry? No, Jennifer shot back, voice steady though her hands trembled. I'm asking you to leave because you've spent this entire interview being deliberately insulting. This was supposed to be about your music, not a chance to tear me down. Maurice grabbed his things with exaggerated calm. Exactly what I've been saying. Young artists can't handle real talk. Everything's got to be sugar-coated now. Jennifer's jaw dropped in disbelief. You call this criticism? From the second you sat down, you've attacked me personally. That's not honesty. That's cruelty. Maurice stood tall, adjusting his jacket like a man certain of his superiority. Cruel? No. Honest. And if you can't handle honesty about your career, maybe you shouldn't be in this business. Don't you dare tell me what business I belong in, Jennifer snapped, her voice cracking with raw intensity. I've earned my place, with talent, with discipline, with work ethic, something you might recognize if you spent less time clinging to the past and more time paying attention to the present. Maurice walked toward the exit, but paused in the doorway for one final parting shot. The present is exactly the problem, Jennifer. The present is packed with manufactured stars who think a contest makes them legends. The present has forgotten what real music sounds like. Security! Jennifer called, though Maurice was already striding away. Don't worry about it, he tossed over his shoulder. I'm leaving. But remember, when all the shows and marketing campaigns fade, it's real artistry that lasts. And some of us will still be here when the manufactured idols are long gone. With that, Maurice Day disappeared off set, leaving Jennifer standing behind her desk, visibly shaking with fury. The studio audience sat in stunned silence, unsure whether to applaud or hold their breath. Jennifer drew a deep breath, forcing composure as the cameras stayed trained on her. Well, she said, voice still trembling. I guess that's one way to end an interview. Turning to the lens, her professionalism slipped back into place. I want to apologize to our audience for what you just witnessed. That was not the kind of conversation I intended to have, and it certainly wasn't the respectful dialogue that our viewers, or our guests, deserve. She paused, still clearly shaken, then pressed on. I've always believed there's room in this industry for artists of all backgrounds, no matter how they started. What matters is the music, the art, the connection we create with audiences. Not the path we take to get here, but what we do once we arrive. Jennifer sat down slowly, her hands still unsteady. I hope people watching understand that. Disagreements about the industry are natural. But disrespect? That's never acceptable. Music is supposed to bring people together, to inspire, to uplift, to connect us. What just happened here was the opposite of everything music should stand for. She faced the camera one last time, her expression weary but resolute. Thank you for watching. Let this be a reminder. We can disagree on art, but there's always enough room for all of us. The tension in the studio was electric. Everyone felt the weight of what they had just witnessed. Two legends of music, colliding in a clash neither side could walk away from unscathed. What did you think of Maurice Day's comments? Were his criticisms fair, or was he completely out of line? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more explosive celebrity moments like this one. The music industry is full of these kinds of clashes, and we'll be covering all of them.